There's 422 AUVSI members in New England, and over half, 238, are affiliated with the chapters. So we're doing well in that regard. But we'll continue to reach out to all those other chapter members in the 6-state region. Many are affiliated with chapters such as Washington, D.C., and we want to bring them in now that they have their own home chapter. You know, our vision, just to remind you, is really to raise the profile in New England of the field of robotics and unmanned vehicles, and really to be the premier industry trade association. And by having these events, we have a large event coming up in June. You'll hear a little more about that as we close the program today. You know, we're raising that profile, and robotics seems to be hot. If you're keeping track of all the different sessions going on, there's even a session at Seaport this afternoon in Boston. So it's really picked up since we formed the chapter. Before I step off the podium and hand the floor over to Kirk, I do want to introduce and really thank our current officers and board. So I'm going to go through the names kind of in order, and many aren't with us today, but let me start at the top. So Wasim Naqvi of Raytheon, he's our vice president and soon to be the chapter president as of this afternoon. Lynn Oliver, treasurer. Lynn, so she's in the back, and wave that hand, Lynn, so everybody sees you. Tom Reynolds is our secretary. Tom could not be with us today. Craig Sanders, a board member, co-founder, and chair of the nominating committee, and Craig's in the back as well. Adam McEwen, board member. Monica Roy is a board member and member of the nominating committee. She could not be with us today. Roger Race, I believe he's over here behind the column. Okay, another board member. And lastly, our final board member, Warren Freda. I think everybody knows Warren. He couldn't be here. He's in Tampa today. But to all those I introduced, thank you for all your hard work in making this chapter a success over the last 3 years. And although we're only 3.5 years old, AUVSI, as I've told you, recognizes one of the top performing chapters.
The AUVSI New England chapter here is co-hosting a 3-day trade event in the middle of June, 15, 16, 17. There is information on the back table there, right in the middle for Devon's Robotica. It will start with a dinner on Monday night. It will go to Tuesday and Wednesday with sessions that should be of great interest. It's available on the website to see, and there's an expo. On the back of the flyer there, if you pick one up, there is registration for a free guest pass for everybody in this audience who is part of AUVSI New England or not. You're affiliated with what we're doing. How many people, just show of hands, are already either helping with the event or going? All right, so already quite a few people, and a lot of you are volunteers. It's an all-volunteer effort. We're looking still for anybody that wants to exhibit, anybody who wants to be there even just in literature or signage at no charge. We're offering to do that. We're looking for sponsors, we're looking for volunteers, and of course we're looking for attendees. So please come and join. There is information on the back table there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich, for that quick description. So one other thing I wanted to mention, a few people have left. So your organization, AUVSI, is very active in many of the issues you heard here from the panel. You know, first off, AUVSI actively lobbies at both the federal and the state level to educate legislators about this legislation, ensure it doesn't restrict our industry. Secondly, FAA, with a lot of other organizations, launched about 8 months ago something called Know Before You Fly campaign. Have anybody here heard about that? Okay, only 1 or 2 hands. So you can find it very easily at knowbeforeyoufly.com. It's an instructional website to help anybody buying these small aircraft, especially as private citizens, hobbyists, to use them responsibly. And included in that, the campaign has gotten Best Buy to agree to put notification of that information and a flyer in every small drone they sell. So please support that. Check out the website. And AUVSI is adding additional members. The initial group was FAA, AUVSI, the Small UAS Association, and the American Model Aircraft Association. One other note I also want to make related to that is that AUVSI is considering let me call it a certification of membership that the members agree to comply with all laws and regulations associated with all robotics, air, ground, undersea, on the sea, what have you. So there's a committee of us working on that. Let me have a show of hands. Would most of you agree to that as AUVSI members? Think that's a reasonable thing to do? Okay, because we really feel as AUVSI's leaders in this industry, we have to show the example to all those who are manufacturing and using and buying these systems that they're going to use them responsibly and attempt to comply with the regulations as best as possible. Sometimes they're confusing and it's not easy.
So Wasim is sincerely apologetic for not being able to be here today. So he says, I look forward to serving the AUVSI New England chapter and the region in helping to foster a strong unmanned systems community. I would like to thank Frank Cerna for his leadership and dedication as president for the last 2 years, providing a solid foundation for the chapter. So could we give Frank a hand of applause? And I think Lynn has something to say at this time.
So Wasim and I decided that we should send both Frank and Craig out with something tangible to remember their time with us. So Frank, the plaques are coming.
Okay.
As a founding member and chapter president, we thank you for your dedicated service. And you'll continue to serve as past president for the next term. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you very much.
And not to leave Craig out. Now, Craig is one of the co-founders of the chapter, and I always credit him with my being here. So, as a founder and director, we thank you for your dedicated service and appreciate your leadership. I hope you stay involved.
No, thank you. It's a nice way to get you up here to speak about somebody else, and I do thank you, and I tell you, the first day that Warren and I sat down, there was just 2 of us. 60 days later, we had 25 charter members, of which many are in this room. And if you were at the first networking, if you were at the first meeting when we were trying to get together to establish the charter and get National to approve us, the people were saying across the room, hey, I've been looking for a contact in your company. And so the cards were flying all over the place just in this one conference room. And that's one of the things that we were looking forward to is building the community here and establishing networks. So I hope you will stay after this. And so just one more comment on that. I'm intruding in Wasim's comments. At the time, everything was DOD. It was just like all the opportunities were on the DOD, and that's 3 years ago. Now where are the opportunities? New companies, new products, and new apps are on the commercial side. And many of the people in the room here, I think, are in that space. Not to say there won't be cross-feed, but the new board reflects our view of where the industry is going, and that's why we brought people such as Tom and Pete and Jeff on to help us in this new direction. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Craig, and thank you for that surprise, Lynn. So I had a couple other notes here just as you get ready for kind of final networking here this afternoon. We've lost a few people, but I just want to say here, it's been my honor to serve this organization for the last 2 years. The level of talent and energy in this all-volunteer organization has been really humbling. And, I look forward for continuing involvement from the board, but we got a great set of volunteers. So for those who are in the room, the rest of you join me in just an applauding all those, especially Kirk, who's putting in a lot of work for these events. So in addition to our board members, we have many hardworking volunteers that have made the chapter a success. So I do want to, before I hand it over, recognize Kirk Teska. Kirk has been a tireless volunteer for the chapter, has been the lead on many events, including this one here today, and was the sole organizer of the panel. And I'm sure that was a challenge, bringing these 5 august individuals together. So please join me in a round of applause for Kirk. And with that, I'm going to hand over the floor to Clerk. Kirk, you'll see me again at 1 p.m. with election results.
All right, thanks a lot, and welcome to our annual meeting. We have a great panel, and we're going to discuss UAV regulations, court cases, waivers, and sort of other issues that you've probably at least seen highlights of in the press. Besides the chance for all of us to get together again on an annual basis, my main intent in putting together this panel was, to clear up a lot of misconceptions and to educate us all in this rapidly changing landscape concerning UAVs. Our first speaker, I'll introduce briefly each speaker, and then when each speaker comes up, I'll give a more thorough presentation of their bio. Our first speaker will be UMass Law School professor Hilary Farber, who will discuss the proposed FAA regulations concerning UAVs. Hilary will be followed by Jonathan Hill. He's an attorney at Cooley's Regulatory Aviation Practice Group in Washington, D.C. Jonathan will discuss court cases involving UAVs. He'll be followed by John McGraw. He's president of John McGraw Aerospace Consulting, who will discuss Section 333 waivers. Bill Wise of Holland & Knight will discuss sort of an overview and as well as his firm's role in UAV legislation and lobbying. And then on the far right is Long Fan. He's the CEO of Top Flight Technologies, which invented a new UAV, and he'll talk about that and what all this means from the perspective of an industry insider.